Hello everyone, this is Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing. Today I am sharing an art journal page video with you. And remember, I am not an art journal expert or a mixed media expert. It's something new that I'm trying. In fact, you're watching my first attempt at using Dylusions paint, the paint by Diane Reevely. It is much, much thinner than I expected. It has a lot of options for use, but I wouldn't have put so much on the page. I would have left a little white space had I understood the paint more. Here I'm trying to take a baby wipe and lift some of it up, which is a great method with a lot of paints, but I didn't gesso the page, so that was damaging the paper. Then I changed my direction a little bit. I've edited this video quite a bit and sped it up. You can slow it down, you can speed it up, you can turn it off if you want. I'm testing out some shimmer spray, and be sure to note in another video I didn't explain it very well. There's ink sprays and there's shimmer sprays. The shimmers come in the smaller bottle and you have to shake them virtually the entire time you're using them, even if you just set them down for a minute or two. So you'll see I sprayed it and then I flipped the stencil. I keep shaking that paint because I'm very shocked that that is the paint that is on that page. It dried such a dark purple and I was expecting a light periwinkle. I also found the same thing with the ink. I was a little bit disappointed actually in the color versus how it turned out when it dried, because I had a different vision for how those were going to go together. The colors were closer than I expected because I don't have a bunch of those products. The choices I've made are too close in color. I'm experimenting with it, letting it dry, layering. And again, I haven't used the Dylusions sprays a lot. They're fun because water reactivates them, but it also makes them more complex because they keep coming back to life essentially and haunting me in this page, you'll see. Here I'm using silver paste in my stencil. It's called Heidi Swap Art Screen Ink. I didn't show you the package. I got it at Tuesday morning. I don't know why it's called Art Screen Ink, but because it's called that, it was in clearance, or maybe it was mislabeled. I don't know. It makes fabulous texture on the page, just like the Nuvo or that gold paste on the left, which I never actually use in this video. So the stars are three-dimensional on the page when they dry. That made it a little tricky when I went to write on the page and trace things, but it was still fun and I love it. I'll do it again. You'll see. And remember, anytime you're using pastes like that, be sure and wash your stencils right away. This video's edited a lot because of things like that. I have to go stop and clean up a mess or deal with something before it turns to cement. Then I'm going through my paints and looking at different ones. And this one was a little more green than I had planned, but that's okay. If you are looking for an art journal expert, just turn this page off and go watch like Art Journal Love or Southern Gals Design, something like that. I just wanted to show you how it works when I took a bunch of things and put them on the page and experimented with them. Watching different things when it's not a polished pro makes a lot of, I think it gives you hope, and it shows you how the real things come together and how everything isn't always perfect on a page. I didn't plan this, and you can tell. Part of my problem is trying to figure out when I use a new product and I push spray, how much of it is it going to cover on the page? And how do I get variation on a page? This page finished, and as I'm looking at it going together, it needs more white. I should have brought in some white or some more silver to lighten it up, but I was experimenting. I think it's also the definition of a little bit overworked, but it didn't have as much variation in color as I would have liked, which might be funny because some of my other pages probably, here's the Whisper paste. Remember this from a different video. It is somewhat translucent. It's not silver. Some of my other pages may look very similar to you, but I love them. This one, in the end, I really don't completely love it, but I do think there's still value in just showing you the different products. Some of them I've demoed before, some I haven't. This star kind of takes forever, and then I realize I have the reverse stencil. I believe it's Heidi Swap, and they sell them at Tuesday Morning. There's been a different ones. They sell the positive and the negative of the stencil. So you saw that I used the star earlier, and then I remembered I had this so I could fill in the paste. It's kind of fun to have both if that's a choice when you're purchasing. These come in a package together, and they're still, you get the inside, the outside, and another pattern for, I think, $1.99 or something. It's pretty great. I'm sure I showed those before. Here I'm testing out some new stamps that I bought on clearance. They're Tim Holtz stamps, and just trying to add texture. If I had a white ink pad, which years ago I had, but I don't have, this would have been a good place, or I could have stopped and prepped some acrylic paint and put some white on there. This would have been a good idea. It does show a little bit better in person, but still, it's a heavy page. It's fun, though, just sometimes to take some of those new stamps and markers and different things out of the package and try them. Here I'm using a Posca marker, and it's the blue one, of course. I love the blue. These go on so nice. They're acrylic paint. They go on nicely. They leave nice color. I did struggle with the white, and I'll show you that and talk to you about that later in the video. There you go. You can see those Posca pens come in all sorts of colors, and they're not inexpensive, so I just buy the ones I really have to have, like the blue. Here I was trying some very inexpensive paint, and it just didn't go on nicely, so then I just decided to smear it around. But again, I shouldn't have been so scared to bring in some contrast, and I went with too much of a similar family. Okay, this is where it starts to go off the rails, and you can learn from this. I've put Dylusions ink sprays on this page, okay? The Dylusions and the spray, and this is probably true for most ink sprays if they aren't permanent. And then I'm trying to write over it with a white pen. So it goes on beautifully in the moment, and then as it dries, it fades to a pinkish purple. So I have to go over it and over it and over. Now the blue goes onto that Bow Bunny paste very well. There I don't have any problems. It holds its color because it's not touching any of that ink spray. What I think I would recommend on this page differently is either don't use Dylusions and try and use a white paint pen, or I could have written the sentiment on paper and then put it on there like I did on my Oh Say Can You See page. I don't think I made a video of that one. I can't remember. I love that page. I might have just put a picture on Instagram because I made that when friends were here and we were all talking probably. So I had to go over this over and over and over, and then I tried to decide how to bring in more white. So I grabbed an oval tag. In the very end, I came back with a white pen again, and then I bordered the text. Imagine actually the whole thing. Imagine the life you want to live with a black pen, and that helped a little. It helped define it and bring it out. But still, I was imagining bright white letters floating on it, and I don't think you're going to get that with the Dylusions underneath it. You might, maybe, I don't know, if you use the actual Dylusions pens that she makes, but those are very fine point, and that's probably a level of effort that I'm not willing to put in. This saying came from, I think it came from a book years ago. I tried to Google it. I think it was Peter, I can't remember his last name, that was like the Oprah decluttering guy. And he was talking about, in a decluttering book, imagine the life you want to live. And that's the type of stuff you should have in your home, and that's how you should set up your house. And I think that that's something that stuck with me for a long time. I want my art journal, be it ugly or messy or whatever, I want it to be mine, and I want it to be sayings that I put together and products that I put together, not necessarily just that I modeled the most beautiful pages I saw in an art journal. If that's my goal, I think I'm doing a pretty good job making a mess. And I hope that you're watching and having fun. I can also say too, I didn't have the most fun ever putting this page together. And that's interesting. When I do my next page, I'll be curious to see if I find it frustrating. I just don't know that I'm a huge fan of the ink sprays. I love how they look on other people's pages, and I love how they look in the books, but I'm just not really sure how to control them yet and get them to do what I want. The other thing is I might like them better in an art journal with detachable pages, like a disc bound one, so that I can move it around more and flip it and get it to run. It's a little harder in a big journal. But I think the thing that's a little bit fun about a big journal is it just makes you commit and go for it. And I really like the variety of papers in this Dina Wakley media journal that I have. I'm putting together another little journal for travel and portability, so I'll show that one to you in a different video. Anyway, here I am just trying to make those white again and struggling because you have to wipe off the pen too, because it starts to pick up the purple or the blue, and it turned pink, and I don't do pink. And here I am, I'm going around the edges of the word life with a silver paint Sharpie. These are the oil based. I have the oil, silver, and gold. I didn't use any gold on this page though. And I like this because it made the lines nice and crisp, and it doesn't move any of the product around. It really doesn't show at all. I probably should zoom in for you better next time. When you take another pen and go around the edges, it helps crisp it up, especially if you, maybe in one color you have a fatter pen, and then in another you have an oil base that'll hold things down better, or a nice fine pen. That's a nice way to make the edges crisp. If you look at it, I mean, it's not a horrible page. It gets the message across. It has a star, so I love it. What I didn't like at all was the Bow Bunny paste, because remember when I did those comparisons, that one was more translucent. On that star, I should have used the same silver paste that I used on the star stencils, because it showed the weirdness behind it, and the blues and purples sort of seeped in, so it got weird. In the end, and I don't even show it in this video, I colored the entire star around the word life with the silver Sharpie. And what that does is it keeps the texture of the paste, so when you look at the actual book you can see it, but it takes out the weird mottled colors flowing underneath it. So you can see I'm starting to do that. And in the end of this video, I kind of leave a circle. It's interesting because on the video, it shows a lot. When I was making the video, I didn't realize you could see that silver circle so much. And then afterwards I said, no, that definitely won't do. At the end, I have a photo of the finished page, so that you can see how it turned out, and I hope you got some ideas and inspiration from this, even though I'm not an expert and it was a bit of a mess in the end, but at least it was my mess and I'm not going to throw it away. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you're a subscriber. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.